Disrupt Education. Today's a special day. We're here with Mr. David Douglas, Yolobe, founder, CEO. Well, let's just jump right in. Let's start. What is Yolobe all about?
Perfect, good question. So Yolobe stands for Your Life Only Better. It's actually, I came up with the phrase before I actually came up with the name, and I think it's stuck, and I like it, so go Yolobe. Pronounced Yolobe. I've gotten all sorts of crazy permutations. Our mission is to help young people everywhere. Sort of the origins of the company, if I can take a step back, was simply a dissatisfaction with social media, this realization that despite the fact that we live in a connected society, the youth and sort of the broader community are not connected at all. And so that manifests itself in like resource poor areas with young people in the urban setting who have like zero positive connections and lack of opportunity. And it represents itself in resource rich communities where young people are just not familiar with what it is that we can do. So Yolobe wants to come in and sort of fill this divide by creating a community with youth, with sort of the people that matter, so caring adults, the teachers, the broader community, professionals in the community, and we want to bring resources and opportunity to them. So in a nutshell, it's like an Instagram for opportunity for young people, right? And for the adults, if I'm talking to them, it's sort of like a LinkedIn for youth. So we want to drive also social capital to them. So that's it. It's a difficult space to be in because you need to build community on both sides. The professionals, community, schools buy-in, and then you need to do something that's popular with young people at the same time. So at scale, this thing could have massive positive implications for the United States, and I'm really excited to be here and share a vision with you because I know you share that vision with me.
So yeah, I mean, I think we connected as when we were talking about connecting community and students, and really like having students. We're talking high school here, but it could go further. But students actually creating, jumping into opportunities in a community and basically helping that community grow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did this vision come about? Like, so I mean, you have connections. Tell us what kind of stories are already happening, I guess, for Yolobe with community and some students.
Yeah.
I mean, we're early in the stages.
Yeah, well, just a couple stories that surprised me. As I started early on, I sort of suspected, quote, this sort of disconnect, but I didn't realize how rampant it was, to the point where I would meet, students who would live on a block, and they were like, I don't even know who like my neighbor is. Right now, growing up, that was an anathema, right? I knew my neighbors, I knew what they were up to, but you have young people who almost feel like, bad to go knock on the door of their neighbors, and so that's crazy. We also live in an interesting society where you have, I also see a lot of like adults who are like, I'm terrified to speak with you, which is crazy, right? Or like, I don't know how to integrate or interact with that young population. It almost feels like there's a Chinese wall between them. And so I think a lot of people believe like to work with a school is a very difficult process, right? I would need to go down, need to fill out all this paperwork. You know what, forget it. And so what you have is a lot of, like on the community side, a lot of professionals with great sets of skills, whatever, who have like no immediate path into working with them, right? And then on the flip side, the administration school, you have this huge sort of idea like, what kind of protections do we have to set up? And it's, while I understand it, it's crazy that the end result of this is that there's like zero connectivity. And so then you have great instances of what you're doing, and people are like, God, this is amazing.
Right.
And when you think about it, it should happen more often, right? And so I think what we're doing here locally, and then in smidgens throughout the United States, this whole movement for real-world learning, project-based learning, I think it's just needed. So more of it needs to happen, more socialization around why it needs to happen. So those are just some of the...
Right. I mean, it's very interesting to see because we've been starting to integrate with our entrepreneurship courses the public coming in. Hopefully we're going to get more of our students out of these four walls. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
And your platform allows that, right?
Yeah.
So what's coming up next? What are the steps? Where are you right now in Yolobe?
Sure.
And I mean, obviously it's scalable. It's something that you want to scale, but pilot stage now. Where are we at?
Now, I think we're beyond the pilot stage. So we're running a number of interesting efforts, programs, right? And each of those sort of we want to learn how to sort of make it work in a healthy way, and then expand it. And so so the different models I'll talk about here are, so there's the community-based school model, right? Which is this, and that's near and dear to my heart, right?
Right.
So that's you take a school and its surrounding community, and you have relative inaccessibility between the two parties, and you would bring more real-world learning to the school, more connections, more opportunity, jobs, internships, all that kind of stuff. So so that's what we're running here, and the intention is how would you be able to bring a program like this into a school setting, and then have it sort of work, and then replicate it out to different ones. So that's one model that we're doing here. We're doing it at another high school, Schurz. We have another Chi Tech Academy, which is using it for internships, right? So we'd like to run that through the school year, and we'd like to measure that by how many connections, meaning professional connections, my social capital has gone up, and/or opportunity do these students get by the end of it, and then do they sort of buy in and understand the value proposition. So that's where our partnership I think really works. Other examples of where we're implementing this sort of at the grand scale, like Milwaukee. So what you're seeing in a city-based environment is, hey, we're cities, we're youth organizations, we're workforce entities. We are using old base technology to try to reach youth, so emails, doing all sorts of crazy stuff, getting their phone numbers. It doesn't work, and they can't use Facebook or any types of social media. So to them, it really was, wow, if we had a platform that's specific for youth, it's safe, and it's easy, then go ahead and so in the Milwaukee instance, it sort of ascribes to my networked-based approach, which looks like a number of schools, or all of them, workforce entities, and the city all working together to tell youth, hey, here's a way to engage with us around opportunity, and we're here to help you. So that's a model we're looking to launch in January. Also doing some trying to convince DuPage County to do something similar. If that works, then I think that becomes replicable across a number of. And then you have another model that we're using, which is basically an umbrella approach. And so CPS was an example of that. They said, hey, listen, we've got tens of thousands of kids, many of graduating, a lot of them not going on to college. We have tons of opportunity to come in centrally to us. How do we distribute that out? Because their emails go away. It's hard for us to access them. And honestly, 30-40% of them won't even be in college. Even the ones that are in college will still want opportunity. We feel terrible that we can't continue to resource them. So our approach with them is, all right, just sign up for the platform and let your students know this is a resource for them both now and 6 months down the road, 9 months down the road, they can reach you, and all opportunity through CPS comes there. And there's quite a few organizations that want to work with the CPS-based students and sort of continue to help that population, but are unable to do so. And so kids today, they go to Indeed, which is a random set of things. They're not going to go on LinkedIn, so or they try to contact people, or they just give up. Right. And so that's another interesting model that we're working on.
As a teacher, what I really like about it, because we're trying to figure out how to curricularize it, and we're building it, and I think one of the things that we see, even today, we have problems with social media. Students are never, it's in the home. I know as a parent, it's very hard for me to track to see what my 12-year-old's doing. There are things out there, but we can curricularize this, and I teach students how to build an online positive social network that they can actually use and not just talk with their friends and say, hey, we're going to the ball game or whatever. It's interesting because a lot of the students don't know that's possible.
That's right.
I think one of the hardest things that we see with the students, especially on my end, is they get a little bit afraid of actually putting real things out there because they're like, wait, I have to do something. But in the long run, it gives them a nice frame of this is where we're going. This is why we're doing this. So it's pretty cool to see.
What I like about what you do, and I think it aligns well, is you recognize that and a lot of people don't, that youth can actually do stuff.
Right.
Right.
a lot of power.
They bring a lot of energy to the
Yeah.
to the table, and they can do stuff. And and I don't know where this happened, but if you go back 50, some odd years ago, you had young people who were doing, who were apprentices. They were reliable. I don't know where the dialogue started, but the dialogue did start that, hey, youth are unreliable. They can't really do anything. Wait till they graduate from college. This, that, and the other thing. And even then, that's just can't work, and it can't work down in the road where the future of work. And it's hard to look at it today. The future of work is, hey, I need to continuously build my skill set, right? And so the earlier we can get them into the process of like, hey, learn new things based on projects and then grow your skill set, the better off we're going to be as a country. And neglecting that and waiting till either they've graduated or down the road, and that's not the place to be.
That's awesome. David, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
David Douglas, Yolobe. It's not Yolobe, Yolob, Yolebe, it's Yolobe. You can check it out, yolobe.com, download the app, take a look at it. Thanks for being here again, man. Keep disrupting education. Let me tell you why I don't buy my 12-year-old a $200,000 supercar. Because I equate that to an 18-year-old going to college without any idea what they want to do. Read more at my blog on disrupteducation.co.